Jen Lou. Hello, chat.
Hey,
How are you doing today?
I am good and I am excited. And how are you?
I'm same. I'm good. I'm excited. I just can't wait to read through what Melanie has to say, and I can't wait to hear from you what you think about what she has to say.
Are you sure? Listen, I would like to warn your chat that I have some very strong opinions about one Melanie Shibangs Gibb. Okay, so I'm not trying to offend anybody. I hope I don't. That's never my intention. But look, I'm just going to tell y'all like it is. The friendship door between Melanie Gibb and myself closed, locked, padlocked. No, I can't take her.
Oh, me either. I have strong feelings about her too. At one point, I liked her in the beginning. Did you ever feel like that? Like she was just naive and innocent ever?
No,
Or no? Oh,
never.
wow. Okay.
No, I
Yeah.
disliked
Yeah.
her from the minute I heard her. The minute she started talking, I was like, mm-mm. No me gusta, Melanie. I mean, right away.
See, that's funny. I did that. See, and Woofy had told me today, like, I kind of like her. And I'm like, but you haven't heard until you hear. For me, I thought at first she was innocent, like more innocent and naive than she is. But after hearing those phone calls, I think that you cannot think that way anymore. She is definitely not innocent or naive, and she puts on an act, in my opinion. But Sydney, death
Yeah,
sentences are. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Well, welcome,
No, go ahead.
KNS. Sydney, I think we have a little bit of a delay, and I'll leave and come back in to try to fix it because mine always I have to leave and come back in for some reason. But sentencing is not on the table for Lori. However, for Chad, it is still on the table. So,
Indeed.
and hey Skittles, hey Corey, Lynn, AJ, Yorkie, Jen, I gotta say hi because I feel bad. I don't want to
No,
go
say
without
hi to
telling
everybody.
everybody.
I want to. I'm hi to everybody in chat. I just can't do the scroll through like Allie can because it's different on your phone, so it's harder for me.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Hey, Pointer Lover and Trap Mafia, Angry Mimi, Queen Olive, Crime Story Diva. Welcome. Thank you for joining KNS. Candy Cane, Skittles, Riddles, Rainbow Mom, K Braze, Yorkie, Peppermint Tea, Debs. Thank all of you guys. Hey, Jane Doe. Hey, Riddler. I appreciate you guys being here. So, hey, Bendy, Lou, and Allie. Donka Girl says, I love how
I
the
love
new
Bendy
name
Lou.
for you. Me too. All right. Well, I guess here this is where it starts. Nadie in tweet. People weren't sure if it was her or not. Like everyone was kind of surprised to see that it was Melanie Gibb because I saw a few other tweets as well. But he said inside the courtroom for another day, a woman with a hat pulled over her face was escorted into the courthouse by a Rexburg police officer. It appeared to be Melanie Gibb with a hat over her face. I'm already like, hold on, we have to
She's
stop.
already extra for no reason. Melanie, girl.
I know. And you don't want to look Lori in the face, Melanie?
Also, Melanie, do you not remember the disaster that is your bangs? Do you really think that it's a good idea to put something on top of your head that interferes with that and could potentially make the situation worse, ma'am? Ugh.
Yes. Hey Tiff. Hey Truth Teller. Um, we were just talking about your live tonight. I'm excited for the Bigfoot live, and then. Hey Amber, and there was somebody else I saw. Oh, and Truth Teller, another thing that we were just talking about. Right
Yes,
now,
yes.
behavioral people just dropped a Lori Vallow interview, and me and you and Jen should go over it in the next like coming whenever days, weeks, whatever. Because yeah, that would be really good.
Yes.
Hey, Angel. Hey, Zoomer Mom. Okay, well, let me keep on reading and then we'll pause along the way, I guess. It says
Okay,
Lori's wearing a
dokie.
light gray jacket, black rimmed glasses. Her attorneys are here and all the prosecutors are at their table. Sorry about that, Jen. My delay.
It's okay, babe. I'll get used to it. I'll get used to it.
Yeah, and actually, I'll, if it gets too bad, I'll come in and out. I think that we're okay though. We're just a second or two behind, delayed.
I think
Okay.
so. Also, side note, I don't give a rat's fat kneecap with what Lori Vallow is wearing. She could be wearing a potato sack for all I care.
No, I know. She
Also,
should.
Lori, could you please freaking take out the Lhasa Apso Shih Tzu ponytail? It's ridiculous. You look ridiculous. It's not a good look for you, ma'am. You do not want to open up your face too much with the wrinkles there. You know, you want to. That's
She
all it
did
does is
like
accentuate it.
That's the perfect description. Okay, so Annie Cushing is there. I think this is the first day they've noted her being there, so that's kind of interesting.
Oh.
That is Tylee's aunt, Joe Ryan's sister. You guys that don't know, I know you know Jenn, but okay. So it says jurors have been brought in the room. Melanie is wearing a black top, white skirt, glasses, and sworn in. This is the first time Lori and Melanie have seen each other since 2019. Melanie says she met Lori at a church event in 2018. She says she met Chad a year or two before she met Lori. She says when she met Chad, it was a casual introduction to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Her and Lori kept in touch after. I side eye everything she says, so I know how you're feeling.
Okay, Melanie, let's stop playing with these people out here, okay? Do you need me to roast you in the Feel the Fire podcast? And how giddy you were to be talking to Chad and how you were eating the microphone? Do we need to revisit that, man? Because we sure can. I would be more than happy to.
I think that would be, honestly, a really good idea because so many people who are new to the case or just now grabbing on have not heard those podcasts. And yeah, I just think it'd be very interesting. Especially
okie dokie, artichoke. Put it on our to-do list. It's in the to-do file. Done.
It's in the file. And then here we go. I'm already mad. And I only read this for a second. But look, she's already starting. We know that Melanie had an issue with Tylee for whatever reason. And it says, Melanie says she and Lori kept in touch after they met. Melanie met Tylee within a week of meeting Lori. Melanie says Tylee seemed upset and frustrated with Lori most of the time. There was tension in the relationship. She met JJ within a week or two of meeting Lori. Melanie says Lori was affectionate with JJ and would sing him songs at bedtime, but as time went on, Lori wasn't as focused on JJ and Lori was distracted a lot. They saw each other several times a week, her and Lori.
Can you really blame Lori? Look at Chad. And closet portals, hello? Of course she was distracted. Gross. Fuck out of here. Okay, I'll be good. I can't with these people, y'all. I just can't.
I have to wonder, though, why does Lori not sit back? And I really have thought this many times and not think about, why have I not been saved by Chad coming through why doesn't he visit me in his portal? Or, you know what I mean?
Chad, come visit us in your closet portal and tell us your case. Plead your case. I'm reasonable most of the time. I'm intelligent somewhat. I'll listen to you. Now, listen, just because I say I'm listening does not mean that I will not have commentary and rebuttal back to you. But sure, listen, can't wait to hear your explanation for things. So come on over in the closet portal. I just reorganized my closet. I didn't like how I did it when I unpacked. So it's plenty of room for activities, including a portal. So come on.
Yep. And do you think that Lori's thought about that though? And or did she know all along it was bullshit?
I personally think that Lori knew all along that it was bullshit. And I personally believe that what Lori did, in my opinion, which means, absolutely nothing, but it is just my opinion. You can't, trade it for Skittles or anything like that. So don't try, or magic beans. But I think with Lori, I think that she targeted Chad because she knew that he would be enamored by her. She was at one point very beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. I'm not going to take that away from her. Now, her soul is black as coal, but her outer shell is beautiful. She was a very beautiful woman. And I think he knew that he would be enamored with her and that he would be easily manipulated. And I think that's exactly what she did. Chad's culpable. Don't get me wrong. He is no victim. But I do think that in that relationship, Lori had the upper hand. Faux show.
Yeah, I think that she did too, somewhat. But I think, like, I go back and forth. I think you're right. I think she had him thinking he was in charge while she was in charge. You've said that a few times, and I agree with you. But I think there are moments when Chad is behind certain things too. I think they both, yeah.
I think they were the perfect storm together. I do not think, well, I'll say this. Separately, we know that Lori is, I personally feel like she's really a Black Widow. But together, I think that the two of them were the epitome of evil, frankly. Them coming together were like it's worse than a perfect storm. Whatever's worse than a perfect storm, that's what those two were together.
Absolutely. They definitely were worse than a perfect storm. So it says, Melanie says Chad and Lori were very friendly to each other, talking a lot about the beliefs, and there was definitely an attraction. Lori was very interested in Chad, like someone who would meet someone they're attracted to. She seemed flattered and was flirty-like. And then she says, she shared with me that he told her they had been married in another time period. She did believe that. She had already had the belief system that this multiple lives, as they would call it, she already believed that before she physically met him. Melanie says Lori told her Lori had been married to the prophet Moroni from the Book of Mormon. Moroni is the one who was the stones. He was buried that's the one.
He showed him where the gold plates were for Joseph Smith.
And they were buried under this a white stone, right? Or some kind of specific stone.
Yeah,
right?
A stone and a tree, I think.
And then that's how JJ was found. So it's interesting. And Hugh Manimal has an amazing post that describes it all on my community tab somewhere if y'all scroll through. But let's see. After the conference, Lori kept in touch with Chad on the phone. Both spouses were still alive. Melanie said she learned of the term multiple probations when she first started interacting with Lori. Lori and Chad introduced this teaching to Melanie, and Chad often spoke about it. The definition of multiple probations changed the longer they knew each other, but the basic belief was you could live multiple times on the earth and it would be different for everyone. Let's see.
Which life are you coming back as a decent human being, Lori?
Yeah, really.
No, Boone doesn't have. Listen, exactly. I would listen, Carol. I would at least listen to Sarah Boone. I don't want to be anywhere near Lori Vallow. Her energy, her aura, her soul is so evil. What Sarah Boone did was wrong, and the video and the torturing, that was evil too. But Lori Vallow is evil to the 10th power. You know what I mean? But we ain't gonna be friends.
Thank you, Carol Claus. Thank you so much, Amanda. Jen Lou, are you saying? Yeah, that's pretty funny. So that's who you're talking to, Carol. I get confused because she changed your name. Okay, so this part I'm going to put up this little graph because they're talking about the people who were in quote unquote the group, which I hope that she goes into the marriages things with Alex and Zulema, but I don't know if they will. But she says, Melanie lists the names Nate says, Melanie lists the names of those who were in the group and close with Lori, including Alex Cox and Melanie Pulowski. Within weeks of Melanie meeting Lori began telling her how Chad and Lori were supposed to lead the 144,000. Melanie describes a light and dark scale that Lori told her about after she met Chad. People who were light and signed contracts with the Savior. People who were light had signed contracts with the Savior. Those who were dark signed contracts with Satan before coming to earth. Wow. Melanie says Lori taught her about this scale. Lori would teach other friends and her brother about the scale. Anyone who was dark was working under the contract of Satan. Melanie says someone could switch from light to dark and dark to light. Oh my God Almighty.
That's so profound, Lori and Chad. You mean somebody can be good and bad? Not everybody is one or the other? You guys are geniuses, and I'm really shocked that you got caught, frankly. Fuck off. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm really shocked that you got caught, frankly.
I'm sorry, you guys. Let me keep it in check. It's new. It's too early for all these F-bombs. Okay, I'm going to do better, I promise. Moving forward.
That's all right. You can do the F-bombs. I like your F-bombs. But Brandon Boudreaux and Charles Vallow were not present for these meetings, and they were not told about the teachings. One day in January 2019, Lori told Melanie that Charles Vallow was taken over by an evil spirit. Charles was now dark. She said she had a dream where Charles was in a car accident in Texas and would not be coming back home by January 1st. JJ was with Charles at that time and would have been traveling back with Charles. Charles was never in an accident. Melanie asked Lori what happened. You shared you thought he was going to die, and Lori responded, he didn't because Satan interfered with the plan. Lori is looking at Melanie during this testimony and taking notes. Wow. Lori told Melanie about castings. This involved a prayer to get the evil spirit out of someone and encourage the spirit to come out by the power of God. Melanie participated in a casting in January or February 2019 after Lori learned Charles was dark. Charles was the first person Lori ever called dark. The first casting Melanie was involved in was Lori and a group of women at Zulima's house. The casting involved prayer and words convincing the spirit to leave the body. Melanie says the first time the group thought they cast a spirit named Zed out of Charles' body, but Charles was still alive. So the teachings changed, and now a spirit named Garrick or Garrett entered Charles's body. Oh, I never heard about Garrett.
I didn't. We completely skipped over the, what is it? The rebound demon?
Yeah, and look, here's another one. Heblows. The final spirit, Heblows, entered Charles's body. Because after Lori cast Garrett out, Heblows entered Charles's body. Melanie
what happened?
says after
Where's
Charles
Ned?
I don't know. We're 3 demons away from Ned at this point. Who knows?
Bless
but
it.
Apparently after Charles died, they were happy. Which, yeah. I could see that. Melanie says Chad and Lori communicated multiple times a day, and Lori had 2 to 3 phones. One phone was just for Chad. They were intimate when Charles and Tammy were still alive. Wow. During this testimony, Lori is frantically taking notes in the courtroom, he said.
Of course she is, because she's working on her rebuttal. Because let me say this. Remember that whole phone call that's recorded between Lori, Chad, and Melanie, or as I like to call it, the trifecta of dumbassery. Okay. But basically, they're having a war of words using passages from the Book of Mormon. And also, here comes Melanie. Oh, yes. Lori, you have carnal desires. Oh, okay, Melanie. Why don't you just come out and say what you really mean? You called her a hoe. Just call her a hoe.
Yeah, I love that part though. You have a lot of carnal desires or whatever she said. Like,
get out of here, Melanie. Who was humping around, as it were, to quote the song, out of wedlock?
That's how they. Yep.
So listen, Jezebel, Lori, just stop, or Melanie, just stop. You're both messy. All right, go ahead.
Both of you. I can't wait to hear Lori's rebuttal, because I think you're exactly right. You can hear their dynamic is quite interesting. And believe me, that Lori is in charge when it's between the two of them. She's the one.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
yes.
Mm-hmm. It says, Melanie said right before JJ was killed, Lori said he was difficult to handle. It was hard for her to take care of him and be with Chad. Lori indicated she was going to ask Kay if Kay could take care of JJ going forward. Melanie says she last saw Tylee in July or August of 2019 before they moved to Idaho. After Lori moved to Idaho, Melanie recalls, this hurts my heart, I remember this. Melanie recalls talking to her on the phone and hearing Tylee in the background. In this call, it's where this is where Lori calls Tylee a zombie, and zombie says and Tylee says, no, not me, Mom. Like, she was, that's just so heartbreaking that she's now at this point, she's the zombie, and she's already seen what happened with Charles when he was a zombie.
Poor thing. Oh. And I wanted to say this before I forget, with respect to Tylee and, being at odds with her mom at this time. First of all, when I was listening to Brandon Boudreau's testimony, he talked a lot about how once Charles or Chad and Lori really started, and y'all can't see me, but air quotes, studying together, there were certain people that were just around all the time, and Brandon sort of gave the impression that they were around all the time and it was incredibly awkward. And so I would imagine that when she initially met Melanie, Melanie became somewhat of one of the permanent fixtures. And I think that, frankly, Tylee didn't like it. And I can't blame her. I don't care for Melanie either. She's not my cup of tea. Even if she wasn't involved in all this, we still wouldn't be friends. She's just not the type of gal I like.
Right. Me neither. And a lot of kids at Tylee's age anyways, especially young teenage girls, are at odds with their moms. That's just
exactly
that's part of it.
It's part of the life cycle. Like your oldest daughter, your daughter knows she's going to inherit your throne one day, and she can't wait for that day to come, quite frankly. And that's why girls are at odds with their mothers. Same thing with dads. Boys at that same age become at odds with their dads because, it's like Simba trying to take over for Mufasa. It's not that complicated, and it's not that nefarious, Melanie. You need to lick this. Hey, you want to stir that pot, you should be made to lick that damn spoon, frankly. Okay. Well, I promised I would be better, and I did do better. I didn't cuss.
No, that's okay. I like your input, so that's all right. Don't apologize. But okay. So this part is frustrating too. I don't know how this was believable. I'm going to read it, so I'll say it before I read, so I don't have to stop right after the first tweet I read. But Tylee was homeschooled. She was not big on school, and the fact that Melanie just believed she was all of a sudden at BYU with her friends all the time after, it's so unbelievable and weird that she didn't ask more questions. But that's my opinion. That's all I'll say about that. But it says, unless you've got something on that, and then I'll just read
all
I'll
say is this. All I'll say is that we do have a delay, babe. I'm sorry. All I keep needing to remember to account for it. All I'll say about that exchange is this. I don't believe you, Melanie. I don't believe that you believed that Tylee was at BYU.
I don't either. 100% agree. Hey, Peach. Hey, Pink Dahlia. Hey, Glenjamin. Okay, so it says, Lori asked Melanie to come visit her in Idaho in September 2019. There was a seminar in Rexburg, so Melanie and her boyfriend David went up. They stayed at Lori's house. Melanie did not see Tylee, and Lori told Melanie that Tylee was at BYU, Idaho with roommates. Melanie asked Lori about Tylee's belongings, and Lori said they had been put in storage. Lori didn't talk much about Tylee. Melanie did see JJ, and Lori told Melanie JJ had an evil spirit in him. Lori learned this the day before from Chad. Lori told Melanie JJ's behavior was more difficult and he would say things like, I love Satan. JJ would climb up on the fridge on top of the cabinets and was acting aggressively. Lori tried to explain how he was changing into a more negative type of demeanor. Melanie says she did not notice any changes in JJ and he appeared to be a typical 7-year-old autistic kid. Melanie has experience with autistic children and his behavior was normal. She never observed him climbing on counters, but one day he was upset and Chad took him upstairs. After Chad took JJ upstairs, he came downstairs and Melanie asked Chad why his neck was so red. Chad responded that JJ had scratched his neck. Oh, wow. Chad, okay, she never observed him climbing on counters, but one day he was upset and Chad took him upstairs. After Chad took JJ upstairs, he came downstairs and Melanie asked Chad why his neck was so red. Chad responded that JJ had scratched his neck. Oh my God. See, and this is so frustrating.
This is why I don't be liking Melanie.
Yeah, oh my God almighty. And you know what? An autistic child who's not had his medicine filled but one time in the last 9 months, whose dog, who was basically his nanny and helped him, his support animal, was sold. How do you expect him to act? He's a 7-year-old autistic child whose father just passed away. His sister's all of a sudden gone. He's off his medication and his dog is gone. You think he's going to be all happy-go-lucky?
I don't think any 7-year-old would. I think any 7-year-old would have trouble adjusting to the amount of change that occurred in JJ's life in such a short time. I think any 7-year-old would have a reaction. But the changes that occurred in JJ's life were like huge life changes.
Yes, I completely agree. Like the dad, the dog,
all
my
of
child
it
is autistic. Even children that aren't autistic usually pick stuff up from whatever you watch around them, say, etc. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Okay. I can't believe that. So I wonder if Alex, because all we knew before was the last time JJ was seen, he was asleep being carried by Alex. Maybe Chad's the one who took his life. I don't know.
I'm going to have to revisit that whole exchange because I can't remember. I mean, I remember that part of it, but I feel like weren't they working on the podcast when Alex came through the door or with JJ?
Yes.
Where was I'm going to go revisit that. There's a lot of tweets. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. Melanie says Chad and Lori were very affectionate that weekend. She went with them to walk around the track at BYU, Idaho, and they explored the campus. As they were leaving, Chad gave Lori a hug and a kiss. Chad asked David not to share about his relationship with Lori with anyone. Lori told Melanie that Moroni appeared to her in a temple on September 22nd. Melanie says the last time she saw JJ was on September 22nd as Alex was taking JJ upstairs. Melanie and David left the next day and do not remember him before they left. Remembers asking Lori before Charles died why he would want to kill her. Lori said it was because she had $1 million life insurance policy. Lori then said Charles had a life insurance policy, but if Charles died, all the money would go to Kay. Lori asked why she didn't get a divorce from Charles. She said that wasn't the Lord's plan, and if Chad got a divorce, he would be penalized for that. Chad would lose his exaltation or standing with God. Melanie never saw JJ again after that night. She said Chad was nervous, and when he said the police were looking for JJ, Chad told Melanie Lori would be calling her. Okay, let me go back to the next part.
All right, let me just say this. So, Chad, this is going to be a topic of discussion should you decide to use your jail portal to come to my closet portal, but let's just keep going. So you're worried that you would lose your standing with God over a divorce, but unaliving human beings, particularly children, that's cool. Listen, I'm not trying to offend anybody when I say this, but even me being a heathen, okay, I know that the first commandment is thou shalt not kill. Adultery is like way down on the list. So I would think that God gave the most important commandments first because he knew Moses was going to be reading them. And, people start to fade out, the further you get into reading something to them. So he wanted the humans when they would be at their most attentive, right? So he put the important ones at the top, right? They're all important, but he put the most important one first, which is thou shalt not kill. So, and I don't want to speak for God, but I'm pretty sure that yes, he probably would be upset about a divorce, but I feel that he would be more upset about an unaliving of
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah, I completely agree. And oh my God, how frustrating. Thank you, Punksy. Thank you so much. That's really sweet. Checkmate Humanity says, I thought it was thou shalt not wear short sleeve button downs, but like Chad.
Look, Chad, if you want to wear short sleeve button downs, may I suggest doing up an extra button? I mean, I don't want to tell you how to run your life, but there's some things that we just don't need to see.
It says born and raised LDS, but I can say that LDS have to get temple divorces, which the church just doesn't hand out. Wow.
Yes, I do recall hearing that, and that it's a big, huge deal for there to be divorces. It's not anything that's promoted, and that it's because that you're sealed when you're married. You're sealed in the temple, right? And then that is what gets you to the. So it's celestial, terrestrial. And what's the other third? There's 3 levels of heaven or whatever. And you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I remember that too. But I don't know them, but I remember hearing that, like the celestial, yeah. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for covering this, Alex. I was planning to cover this, but the trial is wrecking me. It's tough. It is. And I've been watching, but like some of your stuff on it, and I saw your post. And thank you for being here and for covering it when you can. It takes all of us because it is tough stuff. Okay, so I'm going to keep reading. You ready, Jenn?
Celestial. That's what it is. Thank you. Not even here. Celestial, terrestrial, and
terrestrial.
Terrestrial, okay. Celestial, and celestial.
Okay. Thank you, guys. And Lynn or Melissa, will you guys drop Checkmate Humanity? And because hers is not in the Nightbot. And then I'm dropping links as we go, you guys. If you're not subscribed, most of the channels I'm dropping have covered this, or yeah, so you definitely want to check them out. And okay, now they're getting into Brandon Boudreaux. This is kind of interesting. It says Lori told Melanie that Brandon was dark and he had an evil spirit in him. Brandon was part of Hitler's group and was considered a, quote, very high dark, unquote, Melanie says. She does not recall participating in castings for anyone else. Lori told Melanie that Charles Brandon, one of Lori's brothers, not Alex, which is Adam, Lori's dad, Tylee, Kay, and JJ were all dark. Melanie says if Tammy was considered dark, it was right before she died. Lori told Melanie sometime between February and June that Tylee was dark. In September, Lori told Melanie JJ was possessed. Many jurors are taking notes during Melanie's testimony. The night before Charles died, Lori told Melanie that Alex was spending the night at her house because Charles was going to kill her. After Charles died, Lori told Melanie that he had been argumentative with her. The spirit told Lori to pick up Charles's phone, and he was upset she took his phone. Lori said they argued. He threatened her, and Tylee came out with a baseball bat to protect herself. Alex went to get his gun to protect him, and then he shot at Charles. This is all according to what Lori told Melanie.
I think personally, I think Melanie knew more about that situation than she's letting on, but obviously I can't prove that. So
I do too, because in that phone call, she says it was a plan, basically. It was self defense, planned self defense. What the hell is planned self defense?
I suppose, if you're like the right type of person, you are always like prepared, so I guess I don't know. She's just Melanie.
Yep. Okay, so I'm going to keep reading, and then I'll pause again in a moment. It says, prior to Charles's death, Melanie says Chad and Lori communicated multiple times a day. Melanie says Lori had 2 to 3 cell phones. I read that a moment ago, but still, we didn't go through all of this because some of them are showing on his main page, but not all of them. It's kind of weird, but
Okay.
it said they would meet at hotels. We had read that. It's the JJ thing. Morona. Hold on. I think we might. Wait. See, this is so weird because the other one ends. I'm just going to start here. It says Melanie thought JJ was with Kay because Lori told her she met with Kay at an airport. Lori then called Melanie. Lori said the police came by and she told officers that JJ was with Melanie watching Frozen. Lori asked Melanie to take photos of random kids at the movie theater and send them to police. Police tried to get a hold of Melanie, but she did not take their calls. I wasn't sure what in the world to do, she said. Lori told Melanie the police were dark. Kay, Lori's dad, and her brother Adam were also dark. Lori said JJ's life was in danger and Kay was trying to kidnap him. Melanie wasn't sure what to believe, says she was in shock and perplexed. Melanie eventually spoke to police at the end of November, beginning of December, and said JJ had not been with her. Then they played that 20-minute recording. Chad answered, hello, sweet Melanie. And then let's go ahead. I'm just
You know what I wonder? I wonder, because this is something that's been said about Chad. Chad was quite adept, apparently, at these conferences and meetings and such before Lori came into the picture, and he would tell the women similar things, right? Similar things apparently that he had told Lori. That's the accusation, anyway. So it makes me wonder if before Chad met Lori, if he was courting Melanie. And that is the real issue between those two.
I have wondered myself because he also told Julie, there's many people he's told the same things to, like he's told Lori. I think he thought he was like pimp daddy in the Mormon, in the pretty much. That's what I think he thought he was, basically, the way he would hit on all the women and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're right. Let's see. I'm trying to, it's so confusing the way Twitter does things sometimes. We're just hanging out. Their phone call. I hope he's okay. I hope you guys are okay. Melanie says she asked Alex where JJ was. He says he was somewhere he couldn't be found, and Melanie didn't want to know where JJ is. Lori won't tell Melanie. They're still talking about the call. We've all heard this call. Melanie says, if you really love me, you would not have told police I had JJ with me. Okay, let me go back, you guys. She might be on the stand all damn day, honestly, but including with the cross.
Yeah, and to be fair to Melanie, this might be the one time when her talking at a rapid speed comes in handy. Because truth be told, it's going to end up, I think, being a full day. But if it were anybody else who spoke at a slower speed, it might be like a day and a half or even 2 days. But there you go.
Oh, and then the Korihor comment you're talking about, where she says, on the phone call, you think I'm Korihor? Are you kidding me, right? Because Cornel and their carnal desires.
God. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Melanie says Lori's behavior is not one of someone who believes in Christ. They're still going through this call. We're almost to the end of it, though. Let me. Oh, crap. Now we've got a whole bunch more that just loaded in. John Pryor was not in the courtroom this morning for the first part of Melanie Gibb's testimony, but he just walked in. Whoa, 35 minutes ago. Damn.
I mean, look, he's allowed to be there and he is taking advantage of this opportunity. Personally, I have always wondered. I know that Lori and Chad themselves as individuals always wanted their. Oh, hold on.
Oh, I hope everything's okay. Check my humanity. That was. Oh, go ahead.
It's okay. There was just a big ass gust of wind, and I don't know how it sounds for people on the other end. So I just trying to be like professional. I'll be right back to acting a fool in a minute. Don't worry, y'all. But I forgot what I was saying. Oh, he's taking it. I always thought that it was always Chad and Lori's ultimate goal to get their trials severed. And I think that their lawyers also wanted that. And I think that they took advantage of the situation that was presented to them with this DNA. I don't blame Chad's attorney for wanting to see if it's exculpatory. Like, that's his job. That's what he's supposed to do. But I do feel like there was some scheming going on. And that's, it is what it is.
Yeah, I completely agree. Ryan says her roots are dark. I'm sorry, that made me laugh. And then Humanimal, Melanie could have saved Charles, Tylee, JJ, Tammy. She is a gross person, rotten in her court, and not a beacon of light. I completely agree, you guys.
Yup.
Okay, so Pryor is there. He just came in 35 minutes ago. He was there during some of the jury selection, so that's interesting. And we know how hard he rode Melanie. So he actually makes it appear that Melanie could have been. He asked some questions at one point. He wants to know if anybody has made any deals and who they were thinking about charging. And there are certain things that make it appear that he thinks, I don't know how to say it. Besides, he's got it out for Melanie a little bit.
I think he thinks that Melanie was complicit in this to some extent and therefore should be charged accordingly. I think that's really what he thinks.
And I agree. I'm sorry, but I completely agree. So it says, after Tammy passed away, Melanie said Lori was very happy to get married to Chad. Lori never expressed any sadness or sorrow. Melanie said Lori's demeanor was similar to after Charles died. Melanie says Tammy had been suspicious about the affair for less than 2 weeks. So Tammy was suspicious about the affair. Tammy had also turned dark within the 2 weeks before her death. New thread. During the break, Lori walked out the side door with leg shackles and then sat in a chair with wheels. Deputies wheeled her away. This was likely so deputies didn't have to remove shackles to take her to the restroom. She is now back in the courtroom. Melanie Gibb is back on the stand, testifying against the woman who used to be her best friend. Melanie said she recorded the call with Chad and Lori because she wanted to know where JJ was, and she hoped she would learn bullshit. She recorded that call to show that she didn't know where JJ was. That is why she recorded it. But whatever.
Oh my God, Melanie, shut up, Blue's Clues. That's not what you were doing.
No.
Stop it. What you wanted to do is you wanted to get them on the phone. You wanted to record it because you were worried about being culpable, which in my opinion, you are. And that's all that it was. You didn't do it for to find out where JJ was at. You did it. First of all, ma'am, what in the actual F would make you think that Lori would tell you where JJ was at?
Yeah.
You're her, after all, her bestie, right? So why would you think that? You know that's not why you called.
Nope, not at all. And thank you, Corinne, for gifting that membership. Thank you so much. Okay, this is getting interesting. My heart's like starting to race. Says
Okay.
Melanie says Lori told her about vibrations that were equal to your level of spirituality. If you were at 1,000, you were at the terrestrial level. The more your vibrations increased, the closer your body was to being translated. Lori said her vibration level was such that she didn't need to eat and her menstrual cycle could change. Lori did not claim she had visions, according to Melanie, but she did have a dream here or there. Her menstrual cycle? What? Melanie said these teachings were shared with Alex
She
Goss.
had a change in
And
her menstrual cycle. Is that what she said?
yeah, yep.
Uh,
Because she was so, her vibrations were so high. Menopause.
girl, that's what I was saying. That's perimenopause for fuck's sake. Shut up.
Oh my gosh. Melanie said these teachings were shared with Alex, and he believed the people Chad and Lori were hoping would pass away. Charles, Tylee, JJ, and Tammy were zombies. Melanie said she didn't 100% believe the zombie teachings and told Alex that. Alex responded that he completely believed it. When Melanie asked Alex what happened to JJ, Alex said, "You don't want to know." Blake has no further questions. John Thomas will now conduct cross-examination. Oh, here we go.
Here we
Thomas asked
go.
Melanie when she last met with prosecutors. She says, "I don't remember, a few years ago." Melanie says she did not meet face to face with them for the trial, but they met on Zoom. Melanie says she went over her testimony with prosecutors at the beginning of this month or the end of last month. Thomas asked if Melanie was as forgetful with prosecutors when they met earlier as she was today. Melanie says yes. Thomas asked about a 7-page document she created with her testimony. She said she completed it in 2020. Thomas asked the court to strike the witness. Blake interjects and asks for a sidebar conversation. White noise is played in the courtroom as attorneys meet with the judge. Boyce back on the bench and says an objection will be taken up outside of the presence of the jury. Thomas wants Melanie Gibb's testimony struck from the record because he says the prosecutor did not furnish statements from Gibb to the defense. Blake says he interprets the law differently than Thomas and says all statements have been turned over. The state and the defense are allowed to meet with witnesses and do witness prep. She says if nothing is new, it should be turned over. But there was nothing new in their most recent meeting with Gibb. Oh, okay. So they met with Gibb and they didn't turn over their last meeting, but nothing new came out of it. Uh-oh. I wonder what's going to happen.
They've asked for this before. This has been an issue before.
Okay, Boyce says, "You're asking me to tell the jury to disregard everything they've heard today?" Thomas said he made this objection 2 days ago and the court struck me down, so he thought it would be appropriate to do it when it was his turn to speak. Boyce said after reviewing case law, the objection is unfounded and the motion to strike the testimony is denied. Oh my God. So now we just wait for a minute and see what happens. Holy cow, Jen. Imagine if we were watching this, how because my heart is like,
I wouldn't be able to contain myself. We got, Melanie out here being McGruff the crime dog, investigating things, when the truth of the matter is, if she was worried about JJ, first of all, when the cops asked her, she didn't have to lie. And second of all, she could have taken that phone call immediately instead of calling back and then lying. Stop it, Melanie.
Oh my God. I completely agree. She can say whatever she wants. When you hear that call, did we listen to it on your channel? Wasn't it over on your channel? Yeah, you can. You guys can hear it on Jenn. We've done a ton of recaps over there too. If you haven't heard it, or I'll link it on my community page later. Just the call, but you can clearly tell she's trying to get out of trouble. In my opinion, she wants to. Yeah, because she agreed and lied to police at one point that JJ was with her when he wasn't. Oh, Christina, thank you. Look, so glad your channel was recommended. Y'all are hilarious. Jen Lewis. She's doing a roast, by the way. Her roasts are very hilarious. There's one coming this weekend on Letitia, but you don't want to miss those. Let me drop your channel.
Okay, thank you, babe.
Indy. I'm actually looking for Lori's, to drop Lori and Nays links too, but I couldn't remember what I put it in Nightbot as. I got it though. Oh my gosh, I can't believe her lawyer tried to have everything struck. Like, really? You thought that was going to work? You waited until they've listened to hours and hours of it?
Right. But this is something that he's had an issue with. Both him and Pryor had issue with, is that, because remember in the preliminary hearing, there was that exchange and they were asking Melanie when the last time she talked to the prosecution was and all that stuff. That's why they want to know. Their argument is they don't care if nothing new is stated. Maybe they want to see it for themselves. So they're not willing to take the state at their word that nothing new was stated.
I mean, I think they're doing their job. I do the same thing. I got to be
exactly.
honest.
I would too.
Why would the prosecution not just hand it over if nothing new was stated, just to keep from having these issues?
Exactly, because it looks. Listen, you know, it's just not. It's not a good look, and why would you give them even one little tiny inch? I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. Linda, so it is live today and it's happening right now. So, but they're not filming in there, but they are live tweeting. So we are following along with the live tweets of Melanie Gibb's testimony. They just switched over to Cross. And the only thing we've got so far is the Cross is asking for clarification on a few points. Melanie explains where she met Lori. And Lori showed up with her niece, Melanie, who I hope that we hear from. Let me go back and see if there's anything else.
Okay.
Phones must be silenced or turned off. So far this morning, 2 phones have gone off. This violates the court order, and the bailiff has seized both phones. Really? Like, oh my gosh. I just don't understand why people can't, why stuff like that has to happen. Just
right.
Yeah. Oh, it's nerve-wracking waiting, though. Who do you think will be the next? And how long do you think Cross will go at Melanie?
Well, I don't know who's going to be next, but I would think that Cross will probably be about half the time that Direct was. Because they're not allowed to just ask any question, right? They can only, on cross-examination, you're only allowed to ask with what,
like in the scope.
Within the scope of what was testified to on Direct. Now, what they could do is they could put Melanie up themselves, and then they would be able to ask questions that she hasn't testified to for the state. I mean, they could do that, but I would think that they are going to put her on the stand probably for about half as long as she was on Direct, because Melanie is a tricky witness for Lori, because she was so much a part of all the things, right? But at the same time, she has, lapses in her memory. And what you don't want to do is provoke Melanie so much that additional stuff comes out that is negative towards their client. So they're going to have to walk a very, very fine line with one Melanie Gibb because of that. But in my opinion, all they really need to do is to impeach her testimony, is to find something that's contradictory to something she said before. And I think that there's room for that with Melanie, because she,
Yes. With her, agree. It says Thomas asked if Gibb Pretty Lies and Alibis is there. She's live tweeting. She says Thomas asked if Gibb noticed JJ's schedule. Gibb said maybe a bedtime routine, but she didn't know too much about that. Gibb knew JJ went to a private school for autistic kids. Thomas asked if Lori ever talked to Gibb about JJ's morning routines. She says no. He moves on to after Charles was shot and asks Gibb if she saw Lori that day or the next day. Gibb says no. Ooh, Pretty Lies and Alibis is on it with quick tweets.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
He asked Gibb if she knew JJ would get in the car and get chicken fries before school every day, and Gibb said she doesn't remember that. Okay. Do you remember that JJ liked chicken fries every morning? Is that supposed to prove a point, Mr. Defense, sir?
What I think he's trying to do, it's not really about the chicken fries. It's to remind the jury that, again, Melanie Gibb has a lot of lapses in her memory, and they come at very convenient times, and that perhaps she wasn't as close to Lori and Chad as Melanie is trying to portray. So they're going at her, the weight of her testimony, rather than like the credibility of her testimony. They're trying to make it where, Melanie doesn't know what she's talking about. Right. Especially when she talks about behaviors. It's one thing to talk about events, but it's another thing to talk about behaviors and personalities. And so that's what they're trying to do.
Listen to this one. Thomas, okay. Lori believed in multiple lives or probations. Did you tell Lori you had been on this earth 4 to 5 times? Gibb says no. Lori told me that. She thought she brought it into it at times, and Lori was very convincing. No.
Oh my God. No.
No way. Okay, let's see.
Okay, Gibb.
Yeah, it's just funny seeing him kind of poke at her like that. Nadie and Melanie says she and Lori would often meet for lunch or go to the temple. Thomas asked Melanie how familiar she is with autism and people who are autistic. She says she is quite familiar, but wasn't aware if he had a strict routine.
What? Wait a minute. See, this is why I roll my eyes so hard at Melanie. You're her best friend. You spent an incredible amount of time with Lori, not just by herself, but you not only with Lori herself, I should say, but you spent an incredible amount of time in Lori's home, like you slept there and stuff. What do you mean you don't know if he had a strict routine or not?
Yeah, that's a good point. He was apparently not around or at all. I don't know. But it says he then goes on to ask about when she was there and if Chad spent the night. And she said yes. And Gibb spent the night. She said yes. And how many others? 5 or 6 people. So there were 5. I guess he's trying to say how many people were here when JJ, the last night he was seen. There were 5 or 6.
Right.
Well, I mean, he's doing his job. We can't be mad at him for that. It's just annoying to see, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. He's doing his job. He has to advocate for Lori. I mean, he took an oath and he's an officer of the court, and that's, what he has to do. It's just. Ugh.
Yeah. One of the children Melanie abandoned to follow her gathering ways is autistic. Wait, so did Melanie leave her kids as well? Like Melanie P? Because if so,
according to Brandon, she did, yes.
Melanie G as well.
Oh, now Melanie Gibb?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember hearing that before, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen or I didn't hear it. It just means I don't remember hearing it. Also, I'm not on the stand testifying and acting like I'm Melanie's best friend. Am I Melanie? Like you are, lady. You're not, like, come on. Either you were her best friend or you weren't.
Laura says, yes, she did. I never heard that. You hadn't heard it either. So, wow, I would like to know more about that. Humanimal, if you want to come up, I would love for you to come up and talk about this with us because you
absolutely
too. I'm going to drop it. And if you can't, I understand, but I'm still going to drop it just okay. Yeah, Melanie Gibb is the friend. Melanie P. is Lori's niece. Thank you, Lynn. Lori can't claim ineffective counsel. There you go, Jamie.
No, she sure cannot. I mean, look, she still could, but those are difficult appeals to mount anyway. They're very rarely successful. It has to be pretty freaking blatant. And, so even if she did, she doesn't have a chance. Come on, Esther. Because they're very effective. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Says Thomas says this wasn't some romantic encounter with Chad and Lori because others stayed. Gibbs said, I don't know their desires, but there was an attraction. Thomas says this wasn't a hookup. Gibbs says, I don't know. Gibbs says she didn't think the others knew what was going on.
Melanie, you called her a hoe. What do you mean you don't know? Oh, see, so I'd be getting annoyed with.
Oh no, she fell off. Gibbs' child is autistic. Now I knew that, Shelley, but I wasn't aware that she abandoned this child. Gigi from Pretty Lies is there with Law and Crime. I saw Quirky. I saw her on this morning. On Banfield. She did like a little segment on Banfield. Hopefully Jenn comes back. I don't know what happened to her, but I'm going to refresh and see what's happening now. We just kind of have to wait and see. It says, Gibb said, Lori said she had been through 4 to 5 probations. Lori met with Chad in the temple with Moroni and Jesus in the same room. Gibb says yes. She said she questioned the truth of that. This was the Gilbert, Arizona temple. Thomas, you never asked her to show you the place in the temple she got married? Melanie Gibb says no. Thomas says Lori's mission was to help gather the 144,000, and Lori believed she was one of the heads of the gatherers. Gibb says yes. Oh, there she is. You got yeeted.
I did it to myself because Melanie just frustrates me that so much. What is wrong with this woman? So let me ask you this, Melanie. You say you weren't sure if you believed her or not, right? But yet you never asked any questions. So I don't know about how your brain works, Melanie, but clearly my brain and your brain don't work the same. Because if I'm not sure if somebody's telling me the truth about something, do you know what I do? I friggin' ask questions. I don't just sit there and silently doubt in my brain, okay?
Yep. You don't just go along with it and say, oh, yes, I have her son. Yeah, he's here in Arizona with me. Yeah, no.
Right, exactly.
Angela, I've had the same experiences myself, but there were typically shrooms involved. Hey, Avery. Oh, thank you, Renee. My favorite YouTube girls.
Aw.
Hey, Criminality. We've been going through Melanie's testimony today, girl. It's been, whew. Makes the pressure rise.
I mean, maybe that's the fact that I ask questions is probably why I'm not good cult material, because they like blind followers, and that'll never be me. If something doesn't make sense, I will be asking about it. And if your explanation does not suffice and I still am cloudy, I'll ask follow-up questions. So yeah, I'm not cult material, which is fine by me.
Yeah, not even here. Thank you for introducing us to Jenn Lou. She's very funny and adorable and seems to be very smart. She is not even here. She very much is. And Parker,
thank you.
Stout, they don't have trial on Thursdays, so nothing. There won't be any really updates today. I did find a couple interesting things I may put out in a pre-recorded video, like old things that were shared that I haven't seen a lot and things like that. So, yeah. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, no new news, Parker, on Stout. Even if they had trial today, she'd still be a liar. So, and we would be listening to more of her lies. So no big news.
Nope. Okay, so it says Lori would say the girls in the group were part of the 144,000. Gibbs said, I didn't feel that calling, but they tried to convince me of it. Thomas said, you were involved in these castings? Gibb said yes. Thomas says it kind of has a witchcraft feeling, and Gibb disagrees. They use prayers, not spells. Ooh, he's trying to. Oh, you were involved in the castings. That feels like witchcraft. Just to kind of, I don't know, see what she says. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
She says no, it is not. I disagree. But whatever. I think there is the way that they sound of it sounds like it. If you hear Reverend Donna, and I know she's been wrong about some things, but she's been really right about some things with this case. But she goes into the occult and some of the dates that there's like a whole rabbit hole you can go down with some of that stuff. Interesting.
There is.
All right, let me see what Nadine says. So what are you thinking about that? We're doing an update tonight on Jenn's channel. What are you thinking over there? We're going to go through just some clips and stuff like that.
I'm hopeful that one of the channels will release a little bit of the audio in time for the live. Like, even if it comes through like while we're live, of her, particularly of her cross. I'm not so much interested in her direct testimony because, in my opinion, that's the easiest testimony to give. It's the cross-examination where I'm always interested in, especially with somebody like Melanie, because she's. I've got several questions I'd like to ask Melanie.
Me
but
too.
Whatever.
Okay, so here Nate goes on about Thomas saying the casting sounds like witchcraft, but then he says, Melanie says the casting was more like casting spirits out, similar to what Jesus did. Melanie says it felt very unusual and very innocent to her because it was just like prayer. Thomas asked for clarification on the light and dark scale. Melanie says she believed it somewhat, but not completely. I'm waiting for this clarification. I'd like some clarification on that too.
Well, I feel like, how does something feel unusual and normal at the same time, Melanie? Can you please explain that to me, ma'am?
Innocent, unusual, normal, all the things at one time.
Because innocent and unusual also don't go together.
Look, they put this jury is intrigued and probably a whole lot of other things I can only imagine. Their faces are telling a story. Watching Mr. Thomas and Melanie Gibb.
Oof.
It's interesting. I don't know. I don't know how much longer you want to go through their tweets, or if you want to recap later tonight, or you.
Yeah, we can recap later tonight. I'm good for like about 10 more minutes, and then I got to finish up some stuff. But yeah, I'm good. Whatever you want to do.
Okay, I got some things to do too, but we'll just wait for about 10 more minutes, see what happens, and then I know I saw he has a live starting around right now on Letitia Stout, and I know that she'll do fabulous. So let me drop her link too.
Oh yes.
Scott Reich on Crown Talk releases the recordings as soon as they get them. I like them because they cut the BS out. It's testimony only, both breaks and sidebars.
Yeah, I noticed that. So when they're releasing the, which is interesting because as I've watched and streamed trials, right? And it always, seems like the testimony is so much longer than it is, but it's not, it's like when you have a show that used to come on like regular TV with commercials and everything, and then it's suddenly streamed to Netflix or one of the other streaming services, and they cut the commercials and how short the show is. But you don't really notice it as much when you're watching. And I like it that it's straight audio, just testimony, no breaks or anything like that. I love it. At first I couldn't figure out, like the first day, how is it only 4 hours? And I was like, duh, they have to cut out the breaks and they cut out the hour for lunch.
Yeah, that's awesome. But also it's hard for me to listen and follow without the visuals. I need sometimes the visuals, but I'm trying. But yeah, it's I'm not that kind of learner. Like sometimes I need to see things to retain it correctly. So I will catch myself listening and then kind of my thoughts will wander off for a moment, then I'll come back, like that kind of thing. But
I like it either way. There are times, and particularly with Leticia's, because hers is the first one where, yeah, there's cameras, but at the same time, not really. You know what I mean? Because they can't like get a real crisp, clear image of Leticia, and you know, and a lot of the stuff that we're hearing is just recorded audio only, like the pretext calls and stuff like that. And so sometimes for me, not having the visual is better for those things, because if there is audio being played, but I'm too busy watching the witness, then I'd be getting distracted, trying to figure out, like when I was watching Leticia's interrogation, I had to rewind several times because I need to know if she's wearing shoes. It was so distracting to me the whole time. So I had to continue to rewind.
Yeah, I forgot.
I was getting fixated
on the shoes. Tiff, thank you, and love you too, and thank you so much, and thank all of you guys for being here. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys reading live tweets. Helps me at work. Well, yay! Maybe other days we'll do it some more, because they're doing this every day. It's just Leticia's trial also kind of conflicts with it, but. Says the first casting was Lori, Zulema, Christina, Lori, Zulema, Christina, Zulema, Gibb, and Nicole. The castings were done in homes and not the temple. The casting would begin with people standing in a circle, and Lori would cast by using terminology she learned in energy work. Gibb said the energy work done emotion code and how you're connected to your ancestors, and would try to release it in muscles, and some would speak to others on the other side. At castings, they would say prayers. Gibb said disconnecting cords was part of the casting out. Gibb said they would pray to God. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll catch up tonight. But
I mean, why don't you call it what it actually is? Why do you have to be fancy about it? It's essentially an exorcism.
Yeah, exactly.
So why are they trying to put some kind of spin on it? Which, by the way, interesting little fun fact. It's not really actually fun, but there have been people who have died during an exorcism. So maybe that's why they're trying to say it, call it something that's something different. Whatever.
Ooh, it says
shut up, Melanie.
Yeah, shut up, Melanie. No, now moving on to zombie talk. Gibb heard Lori talk about zombies. Gibb didn't think that meant they were going to die. She said even Lori thought it was bizarre at first. Thomas asked her if she remembers writing down Tylee had been a zombie since she was 12 or 13. Gibb said Chad would tell Lori Tylee became a zombie years ago. Thomas, you were involved. Wait, no, that was the castings part. So now, yeah, I don't know. The zombie, it's frustrating. I don't know. It's quite sad. But for her to sit there and say she didn't know that meant they were going to die, that's bullshit.
You know what I want to know if Thomas is going to do? Play that phone call of Melanie.
Oh my God.
If I were a defense attorney, that's what I would do. I would play that. Because that is going to impeach her a lot for a lot of different things. Because just going by the tweets, and I haven't heard it, right? But just judging by the tweets, it sounds like there's again these gaps in Melanie's memory, right? But if you listen to that phone call and the things that she says, on that phone call, she remembers details that when she testified in the preliminary hearing, that she said she couldn't remember. That's what I would play.
Yeah, I would too. You're exactly right. I hope he does. I don't know. Maybe I hope they even know. Surely they know it exists.
Oh, of course they know it exists. Of course they know it exists. And I don't recall hearing anything in any of the preliminary hearings about that phone call, because I feel like I would remember that, but that doesn't mean I actually would.
if she's been saying Tylee was a zombie since she was 12 or 13, right at the age she goes into puberty, and kids start being, that age. It's like they start being just, it's, of course, that's when. It says Gibbs said Brandon was deemed dark by Lori and Chad and evolved to a higher level of darkness, being in Hitler's army. Gibb met Brandon before Charles's murder. Gibbs said it was bizarre. It changed and would go deeper. This was an ongoing thing with different people. Oh man, Jen, I don't know. I guess I will let you guys go after we talk, and then we'll finish the rest later. But
where would Chad even come up with that he was in Hitler's army?
I know. I guess just because Hitler, when you think of like pure evil, Hitler is one that is. That's what I think. Hey,
that's true. That's a good point, but I mean. I don't know. This is why it would not be good in a cult, because I would be like, let me just ask you this, Chad. Can you show me where you derived this information from? Like how you've traced his family roots? I mean, like how do you know this? I would be asking too many questions.
Checkmate.
Way too many.
Sounds like a dog whistle. Well, it's too bad that they don't ask questions. That's the problem. Melanie, or people like that just go along and don't. Why are you against Melanie? Oh, no. Carolyn, I'm not against Melanie. I'm not pro Lori, that's for sure. But having watched this unfold since the beginning, Melanie has lied a lot. She actually told police at first that JJ was with her. If it wasn't for Melanie, things probably wouldn't have spun out as far as they did. And she gets up on the stand during the preliminary trial, acts one way, then has a phone call that's recorded she doesn't know about, calls JJ a drug baby, talks down about Tylee. She's just... I don't appreciate that in a person, so that's why. Criminality said lunch break.
I'm pro me. No, just kidding. I'm not pro Lori. I'm anti Lori. I'm basically, my stance is I'm anti lying liar faces who tell lies. And Lori and Melanie are both. So is Chad. And exactly. And in my opinion, based on following this case, and really it comes right down to, for me anyway, Melanie Gibb's own words. That's how you say it. Melanie Gibb. It's her own words that caused me to feel the way that I feel about her. I agree with Allie. I don't know if her going to the cops would have prevented something, but I'll tell you what I know for sure is that it gave Chad and Lori more time.
Yep, absolutely.
And in my opinion, she has these, like I said before, lapses in her memory at times that are really convenient for her. She can't remember things that, if she could remember them, might get her into some kind of trouble. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't think that phone call that she recorded between Chad, herself, and Lori came from a good place. She wasn't, McGruff the crime dog out here trying to figure out where JJ was. First and foremost, by that point, she knew already that Lori had lied to like 11 billion different people about where JJ was. So even if she had told Melanie, Lori's a liar. According to Melanie, she lied to Melanie. So why would you take the word of a liar anyway? She called because this is what I suspect happened. I suspect that she complied with Lori and Chad's wishes about not answering her phone and lying to cover for, to say that JJ was with her. And I think that she had a conversation at some point with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend was like, oh, hell no. You better call Lori and Chad back, record that phone call, and turn that over to the popo. You better call them now, right now. Yeah. That's what I think happened. I don't think she did it out of the goodness of her heart at all.
I don't either. I completely agree. Not at all, at all, at all. Checkmate Humanity has read Chad's books. Look at her comment. She says she's reading about the end of the world and how certain tents were for safe people. Some people had to, earn their way to that status or whatever, and they were all according to the prophet. And I said, "Did you read them?" She said, "Unfortunately, yes, but I don't have the greatest memory for detail." But I would like to look at some of that. That's really interesting to think about. I know that you're in the belief that Lori is the mastermind, but I still think that Chad, I don't know, it's like you said, perfect storm, but it's kind of interesting to see how he believes too.
Well, Carolyn, yes. If they were to impeach Melanie's testimony, then yes, it would hurt the prosecution. It's not that I want the prosecution's case destroyed or dismantled or hurt, but I have to be fair to the process and to discuss what goes into a trial and what's happening, right? So I've done it with the prosecution too, said, well, I wonder if they'll ask this, or if I were them, I would ask that, or do this or do that. It's no different. I would just think that logically, right, if I were a defense attorney and I wanted to impeach Melanie Gibb's testimony, I would put that phone call up. But I certainly would not email or try to find on social media Lori's lawyers and help them. It's just for the sake of discussion.
Yep.
That's all.
Shelley, I understand Tylee lying at the Arizona police station when Charles wanted Lori committed. She was raised by her monster mom. What was Gibbs' reason to lie? Gibbs, a mother to kids older than Tylee. The fact that she was asked to lie, she should have known immediately that something was very wrong there. So I don't know. But
I mean, there are a lot of situations that occurred in this whole thing that, looking back, which we are with hindsight, we can see, because we know how the story ends, and so we're like, well, if I can't, like I said, like with Melanie and telling the truth, I don't know whether or not, if Melanie had gone to the cops and when they called, if she'd have been honest with them initially, if any of this would have been prevented. I can't say that for sure. Nobody can. But what I can say is that the fact that she doesn't put her in a good light with me. And none of her behavior afterwards does. So, yeah.
Yep. That phone call was just, I'm sorry that, like I told you, you said you never believed she was kind of innocent. I at first thought she was. Remember, she does that sit down with Nadine, and that was like, we were all like glued. I will never forget when that came out. It was huge. And in this sit down, she seems very much like she cares about I don't know, she just seems more naive and innocent. It isn't until I heard her when she didn't know she was recorded and talked about all of this that I decided that she is not this naive, innocent little person who believed her friend. She's far from it. She's somebody who knows that she's very close to very serious trouble. That's what I think.
I agree. And I agree with Shelley. Yes, I should mention that too. Melanie has been lying for quite some time. And especially with regard to Charles Vallow. The reason that Melanie set off alarm bells for me and why I didn't believe her immediately and I side-eyed her from jump is because of, it would be one thing if she went into that interview and said, I used to believe A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. Looking back now, I realize I was mistaken. But she doesn't. Instead, what she does is, I was doubting it the whole time. I wasn't sure. I don't believe her, blah, 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 blah. So.
Blue Reader says that phone call was illegally recorded. Sherry didn't know that Mass is a two-party consent state. They would have to overcome that before it would be admitted into evidence.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
I did.
thank you.
I love when you guys give us, like, I love everybody putting their heads together, new information.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. I didn't know that either. She said, oh my God, she spoke with Hidden True Crime yesterday. Ooh, I got to see that. Is that on
Ooh.
YouTube? So the person who did the call, because that would be really nice to hear, like, more about that call from that person. I'm gonna look on
Yes.
YouTube and see if it's on here.
Yeah, I'll have to listen.
Hidden True. I'll share the link in the chat.
Oh,
We have to wrap it up.
yeah. So, the interview where she speaks about that call was published a year ago. Is that what you're saying, Blue Reader?
Oh, okay.
But thank you for explaining that, because see, I didn't know that, which makes sense why that phone call hasn't come up.
Yeah, because that would be perfect. I mean, that just shows exactly who she is. Hidden True Crime 1 year ago, Melanie and David, what did they know? Oh, here it is. An interview with Sherry Dowdle, her story behind the Melanie Gibb recording.
Oh,
What?
okay.
Okay, I'm sharing that in the chat so that you guys can watch it too. And then tonight,
and we'll talk about it tonight. Yes.
Yes. Jenn's channel at 7. We're gonna finish the rest of what happens in court today, and also the rest of the week since we've been on Stalk. And then at 9, I'm going on Truth Tellers to talk about Bigfoot. We've been waiting to do this Bigfoot live, but so we're doing it tonight. I'm gonna share.
Oh, I can't wait.
I can't wait too. And then we get to do the freaking behavioral panel, which is going to be so fun on Lori Vallow, because I just can't wait to hear them give her hell.
Oh, me either.
Well, thank you for being, I know I sprung this on you out of nowhere kind of today, but I was caught off guard when I saw Melanie was on the stand and that Nate was going into such detail about her testimony. I really wanted to take the opportunity. I love doing live tweets from court. I think it's fun because we have more of a chance to talk about it versus watching.
Yes.
Maybe we can.
I'm glad you sprung this on me quick too, though. I like it.
Me too. It was so fun. So thank you for coming. And I love you. I love your channel. I appreciate you. You guys, if you're not subscribed, Jen Lou brings something special to true crime because she's funny and intelligent, but she will never just jump on a case and not learn about it. She's going to put her whole all into it, because there are many creators who don't, and that's just the facts. But so I always appreciate it when somebody does. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I feel the very same way about Allie. She is incredibly intelligent. She makes me laugh. She's very, very funny. And she also puts her all into a case. And, will do her very, 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 very best always to be a voice for victims, and also to make sure that the information that she's putting out is vetted and as accurate as possible. And she does care about the cases that she covers. So
thank you, Jen. And
you're welcome.
Appreciate that. Sometimes I'll be hard on myself, and I'll tell you, and you're like, no, you did great. So you always make me feel a little more confident. Sometimes
you do the same for me, because I be second guessing myself all the days.
Well, good. Then that's what I'm here for. All right. Hey, Pratt Mommy. And then CDT, I'm dropping her link because she's live, I think, right now. It's supposed to start.
Okay.
And then, Jen, I'll see you tonight. Thank you so much. And
all right.
Have a good day.
Bye, you guys. You guys have the rest of your good day. Bye. Bye, Allie.
Bye. Thank you guys for being here. I love and appreciate you guys so much. I really do. We both bring the special. Thank you, Rita, and thank you, Not Even Here. All you guys. I love you guys. Appreciate you. Thank you to the mods. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and I'll see you soon. Bye.